Are you ready to wake up? You're now entering Dreamland. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Now Entering Dreamland, a podcast about dreams, sleep, and everything in between. Welcome back to those of you who have been to Dreamland before. We're happy to have you back. And welcome to those of you joining us here in Dreamland for the first time. My name is Stacy Axler, and I'm the host of this podcast, and welcome to a new episode. This is going to be an interview style episode, and this week I had the pleasure of interviewing comedian Justine Hipsky. I've known Justine for a few years now. We both do improv in Washington, D.C. Justine is a member of some hysterical groups, including Hellcat, which is an all women ensemble team with the Washington Improv Theater, and they are fantastic. Justine indicated that she had some interesting dreams, and because of that, I said, okay, Justine, I need to get you for this podcast. And we had a really good discussion about sleep and dreams, and also out of body experiences. It was a really good conversation. So without further ado, you are now entering Dreamland with a conversation with Justine Hipsky. I've known you for a few years now. Are you a person, do you remember as a person, do you remember your dreams?
Yes, largely yes. I think more than the average person, but maybe less than some people.
Okay.
I don't know. I remember them every single morning.
Wow.
But I don't retain them long term. Like if I don't do a good job of writing them down, which I don't, despite saying that I will. I don't stick to the habit of actually writing them down in a dream journal or anything. But yeah, usually when I wake up, I will have I'm coming out of a very vivid anxiety nightmare.
Oh,
Every day. Yeah.
Talk more about that if you want to, about the anxiety
Yeah.
nightmare.
Yeah, I don't want to make this a really dark episode. But I just most nights, I have dreams that are always me I'm supposed to be somewhere and I'm not. I don't have anywhere to stay. I'm going to an airport, but it's the same airport, and it's always very odd with blood red carpet and low ceilings and some kind of little tram that hangs from the ceiling that you get in these little bubbles, and then it takes you. But then I never have my boarding pass or my bags, and I'm always supposed to be meeting someone and they're already on the plane. Then I get on the plane and it's the wrong plane. Dreams like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of that, but all different kinds of manifestations of that. Sometimes I'm lost. Sometimes I'm at a big shopping mall, but just totally aimless. And then I'm just going into stores and I'm like, but why am I here? And I'm alone. So, some people will be like, oh my God, last time I finally had my flying dream again. And I'm like, okay, well, way to brag. That sounds fun. That must be nice. Some people are just always sad and alone and confused in their dreams.
Oh my gosh. So I have based on what you just said, I have three possible side notes that I want to do. First and foremost, what I want to say is, have you always had these anxiety dreams even when you were a kid, or is this more of an adult thing?
Yeah, I have always had these. I will say the difference is that when I was a kid, I would also have fun dreams, more lighthearted dreams. But for years, from the time I was 5-ish, I have had recurring nightmares. One would be me getting kidnapped.
Same.
I mean,
Yes.
yeah. If you can't tell, I am just an inherently anxious, worried person, and I always have been. I think part of that is from a young age, I didn't feel my parents were paying enough attention. So I think I was over vigilant about everything. So I would have recurring dreams about burglars coming to the front door and then just like walking in, being kidnapped. Oh, one time I dreamt that my mom left me in the car to go into the grocery store, and then like the car started rolling backwards into traffic. And I, for years, thought that really happened. And when I brought it up to my mom, she was like, that definitely never happened. I would have remembered that. And I was like, no, it did. You just don't want to admit it. And she was like, Justine, that never happened. You did not roll into traffic in a car. Like, I promise. Oh, and I had this really, really, really weird one over and over and over again that so I'm from Florida, so there's lots of like causeways, like bridges. And I would have this one where I would be like in like a canoe and some creepy old man would just be pulling me in a canoe down the sidewalk, and it would just be making this like noise. It was like a dry canoe on a dry sidewalk, and like he was kidnapping me and I was like in a canoe.
Oh my God.
And the sky would be really dark and like yellowy and hazy. So I had that one a lot.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is very interesting to me because I always have had these like kidnapping dreams as well, and I like never stop to be like, Stacey, why have you been doing this? But I have always been afraid of home invasion. Like I think that's just like a thing that I'm very freaked out about. But I remember distinctly when I was like 14, I had this dream that I was home alone and someone was trying to break into the house. And I like woke up and like I was like covered in like sweat, like and I like it took a while to shake that it was not real. But even so, there was one day I woke up months later and I was like, today is gonna be the day that someone tries to break into this house. Like I was convinced that this was a premonition of things to come.
It feels so real, and it just like perpetuates like the fear you already have. I mean, I'm sorry you have experienced that, but it makes me feel less alone.
I'm glad.
I'm glad. A weirdo.
So something I wanted to ask you, because you have these vivid dreams, do you ever try to analyze them or to try to make sense of them?
Yeah, I do. Like sometimes they even come up in therapy. Like I've mentioned like my sleeping and like my dreams. My therapist will be like, let's talk more about that. But on my own, like I do. I don't know that. By the way, I can learn your voice.
I love that Siri's talking to us. Is that Siri or Alexa? Who is it?
It's Alexa, and she's in the other room, and I don't know why she did that. So that's creepy. No one's in there but my dog, who's having a panic attack right now. No joke. So,
oh no,
you know, we're two of a kind.
Alexa really wants to be on this podcast. Well,
yeah, Alexa's super jealous. Sorry, Alexa.
Sorry,
my
Alexa.
time to time. But yeah, I do. Like I remember. I guess this was a while back. I had this really weird dream about being like at like a house party, and like I went back inside to like get something, and I was like stressed, of course. And then there was just like a full-sized grown like male lion blocking my entrance to get like what I needed to get out of like the guest room of this house. And so I do remember like specifically Googling lion in dreams, like lion blocking my path. And I don't remember what it said now though.
Okay, so I am thrilled we're talking about this. So when I was younger, I have had a series of recurring dreams of me in this like abandoned, derelict town. And it's like it's one of those things where like everything in the town, like I'm like, oh, this used to be the town like college, and this used to be the library, but like everything's like run down and derelict and just decrepit. But there's occasionally there is a lion in this dream. So I need to figure out what lions in dreams mean, because what I interpreted as, and I don't know if this is right, this is just me, I always took the lion as like someone protecting me from something. Like it felt more of like a protecting figure to me than an attacking one, but I have no clue.
Well, I mean, I feel like though that sounds like if that's the feeling that you had in the dream, then that should be what guides you in like analyzing it. Because like if in the dream you felt like this was a protective presence, I feel like then it probably was. Like it represents something that's protecting you, or
Right.
something you think is protecting you, whether it is or not.
No, that's a good point. This is
I
what
don't
the
know.
internet says.
Oh, please tell me what the internet says.
I'm going to tell you what the internet says. To see a lion in your dream can symbolize your own anger or bad temper or the anger/temper of someone else in your life recently. A lion in your dreams can also symbolize your own strength or the strength of someone you know. Strength can be physical, but often is emotional in our dreams. Interesting.
Ooh.
So a few theories there.
Wow. I wish I could remember exactly what was going on in my life when I had this dream, but that I don't. But that all checks out.
I know this all seems
my own
plausible.
anger, other people. Yeah, it all. I don't know. We could go any one of those routes, and I feel like we could make sense of it.
Oh my gosh.
I want to be better about being the type of person that analyzes their dreams like every day.
Me too.
Because I'm fascinated. Like, why am I like this? Why? I don't know.
I need to get better at analyzing it. What I have been doing since I started doing this podcast is actually writing my dreams down. So that helps. At least I have them somewhere. So when I do sit down to analyze them, I can just reference back.
Yes. So how much of your dreams do you remember? Because while I have vivid dreams, like everything is disjointed. Like I don't understand the order in which things happen. They're like, you know what I'm saying? Like, do you remember like super specifically chronologically what happens in your dreams?
Sometimes I do, but what I need to do, if that's the case, what I find is that I'll remember dreams better if I wake up at normal waking up time, which for me is around, honestly, it should be around 7:30. Lately, it's been more around 8:30. But I'm not complaining. I'm just stating this just so you know what the time is. But sometimes I feel like I'll have some of my scary dreams happen and I wake up kind of with a start at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. And then usually at that point, I'm like,
right.
and like I'm like breathing. That was me breathing heavily
Yeah.
in like this. I need to explain why I was making that sound. But it's like, I wake up with a start and I'm trying to catch my breath and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to pee. And I need to just stop doing that because whenever I leave my bed, so I'm in my room right now. So my bed is right there. My bathroom's right there. So when I just like walk to the bathroom, at that point, I've forgotten almost everything. Like I can't get it back.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry if I'm derailing like the actual agenda.
No, this is wonderful.
Because I have like, it's fascinating to me like how the physical like act or like location of our bodies, like being in our bed, is so tied with our memory of dreams. Because maybe this podcast can help me solve this lifelong phenomenon I've experienced, that when I Google a bunch of nonsense, like nothing comes up and I feel crazy. So when I go to sleep at night, like when I put my head on the pillow at nighttime, I immediately, almost every single time, just immediately have an involuntary like millisecond flashback to the dream I had the night before. I mean, almost every single night. I remember the feeling, like I just have this quick flash of like the feeling of the dream, what the dream was. And it's just like this quick like memory jogging that is completely involuntary. And then it goes away. And then I'm like, I go to sleep again. And then it just repeats itself every day. I have Googled a million times, like briefly remembering dream from night before when headed go on pillow. Nothing comes up.
I mean, I'm going to tell you this, Justine. I have not heard of this so far, but
oh my God.
I'm now making it my mission of this podcast to get you an answer.
Find someone else this has happened to, because it is, I've asked so many people, like, has this ever happened to you? And they're like, what are you talking about? What? So no, I don't know.
I think what I more so often do is I'll just be doing my regular day-to-day and I can be doing something very inane like making a sandwich, and then I'll just like, there's something about it that will make me think of a dream. Sometimes dreams I've had years ago, like back when I was in middle school, and I feel like
I had a lot of anxiety related dreams at that time in my life, which makes sense because I was just so sad and
Oh God, yeah.
awkward, but I do think that that's like also kind of at this point, because I'm, what am I, 28. So I think there's this moment in my brain where I'm like, that seems like a dream. That's from a dream I had. But then I'll stop and I'll say, or wait, kind of to what you were saying earlier, Justine, where it's like, did that happen to me? I'm like, no, I think this was a dream, but it's too far gone now that, I mean, the line, I think this is a very strange thing, but I feel like the line between memories and dreams have become so blurred.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Internet answer. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
What does that mean, internet?
Yeah. Will the internet tell us?
I don't know.
I feel like, I mean, don't a lot of people, like, this is maybe like completely different territory, but like the deja vu thing. Like,
yes.
I mean, because I get that a lot.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and it is so like, and it doesn't necessarily feel like I dreamt it. It usually feels like, oh, I've done this before. But I know like one of the theories is that it just means you've dreamed it before. I don't know. It all feels tied together, like memory, false memory, dreams, deja vu, reincarnation. I'm just saying.
I think it's all in one. We're going into new uncharted territory.
Yeah, really taking this podcast
I love
in a whole new direction. I'm sorry.
I've oftentimes thought about reincarnation though, because I sometimes will get very, very strong deja vu. Just, what was that?
My dog, when I said he was having a panic attack, I wasn't kidding.
No, is he okay?
I mean, he's trying to get into my roommate's room because he doesn't like it when I'm on the computer. I am so sorry. He'll be okay. I feel that I'm just gonna have to ignore him. He's okay. Sorry. Go back to what you were saying.
No, it's all good. I love dogs. So, but like, what was I saying? Oh, I get a lot of deja vu, just like jolts of deja vu where I say to myself, I've done this before. And I do also believe in reincarnation. And I do think all these things are very much tied. Do you believe in reincarnation?
So I like 90% do. And I say that only because I still need to do more research into like, where do new people come from? What's the theory behind that?
I mean, I think you're onto something. I don't know where new people come from, or new consciousness, just like a clean slate.
Right. Because but at the same time, like the law of physics, like energy can either be created or destroyed. That feels like it supports reincarnation, but then where's the new energy coming from? I pretty much do believe in it. My grandfather, it's very interesting. He's very Christian. He's Lutheran, but also is a diehard believer of reincarnation.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, and he like believes in like the power of like premonitions and shared consciousness, which I do. I feel like is very tied to like dream world. Because like when you're like there this like theory that when you're asleep, like you're more open and like receptive, and maybe you're picking up on things that are in the universal consciousness that you're closed off to when you're awake. And then you might have a dream that is a premonition, or
Well, I think
I have so many. Yeah.
I'm so glad you have thoughts about this, because I'm loving this conversation, and I just want to say, like, it makes me think a lot about two things, which is, in doing research before this podcast, one thing that I found out is that this ties into what I was about to say. So just a brief intermission, but do you ever lucid dream?
I have before on like a small scale, but I've never been able to do it like at my own will. Like I don't know how to do it. I bought a book on it at one point, and then it didn't actually read it or put any effort to try.
Well, maybe after this podcast.
I know. Yeah, I've been in a dream where I have been like, oh, I'm dreaming.
Yes.
And then carried on with the dream.
Yeah. I don't have many lucid dreams, but kind of I wanted to just get some, research. I'm putting this in air quotes you can't see in podcast world, but research under my belt in terms of like, since I was 4 years old, I had been a sleepwalker. That was also partly what fueled me wanting to do this podcast.
Yeah. Oh my God. I want to hear more about that. But yeah.
No, I have a lot to say about it. But like I was sleepwalking, and then I was just like so anxious all the time. My like nightmares were really bad. I had these terrible night terrors when I was younger that I don't get so much anymore, but just like spine chilling, just night terrors, where like the last time I had it was back when a cat was living here in this apartment, and the cat was like trying to wake me up because I guess the cat was so freaked out, which I was like, good job, cat.
Good job. Yeah, that's a cat that would have called 911.
I know, right? If only it could. She was just like rubbing her face on my chest, which was like very sweet. It was just very nice. But
very intuitive.
I know, right? And it's like one of the things that I read, kind of in just like doing all these research and thinking about all these like different sleep states, is that there is documented experiences of people who are going through times of high stress, like specifically like soldiers all rehabilitating in hospitals, whatnot, who have these large scale shared lucid dreams. Like this is like an actual phenomena that happens where like they'll go and they're talking to their doctor, and they're like, I had this dream last night that I was in a swamp, and then they're like, what? Well, Jenkins over there also dreamed he was in a swamp.
Wild.
It's so crazy. Oh my God, it's so interesting.
That is wild. Have you ever watched the movie Waking Life?
No, what is that?
It is. It's a Richard Linklater. Is that how you say his last name?
Yes, I like
movie,
him.
and I forget what it's called when it's like real actors, like shooting real people, but then it's like animated overlay, and it has this like very trippy like visual effect.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to go into the whole thing in detail because I want to hear more about sleepwalking. But I do highly recommend this very trippy exploration. It's a lot about dreaming and shared consciousness. It's like kind of a series of vignettes. There are like main characters. I haven't watched it in a while. Many years ago, I got like very high and watched it for the first time. And then I've seen it like once since then. But there's one part. I mean, there's a whole bunch about lucid dreaming, but there's one part where it's like Ethan Hawke and some other actor, I don't remember, but they're like a couple in bed, and they're talking about this study that oh my God, I sound so dumb trying to explain because I can't remember the like details, but it was like this group of people who was like they were locked in like this one place like all together, like purposely, like it was for a study, and every single day they were given like the like New York Times crossword or whatever, and then they like started like, or maybe, see, now I can't remember how they did it, but at some point they started only giving them the day before. Maybe like they delayed a day, and like then they would like give them the one that all the other people out in the outside world had done the day before. Anyway, the findings were like very interesting because like their completion rate and like succession rate with finishing these crossword puzzles went up like astronomically. Like if people out in the world had already done it, and it kind of like supported this idea. I mean, that's not causation, obviously, that's just like kind of correlation, I guess. But they did notice that there was a relationship between like if like a million other people had already done the crossword puzzle, they just had a much higher success rate with it. So like this idea of like shared consciousness, like once things are out there, we all have more access to them.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I did not do a good job at all of explaining that, and now I'll have to look it up later and like text it to you or something. But
I think you did do a good job. I mean, that's
good.
Very interesting.
It was fascinating, and I never forgot it. I mean, I forgot the details, obviously, but I didn't forget the general takeaway.
I think for me, something else that reminds me of that I wanted to bring up is like out-of-body experiences, which I've just been fascinated about for years. And I mean, there's like, what is an out-of-body experience now that I'm mentioning it? I should just do more research into it. But I feel like that's related in this too.
No, the one of the most vivid dreams I ever had is kind of tied to that and like this like supernatural element. Like when I moved into this new house with my mom. It was like this old, like small, like rancher house in Richmond, and it like had a weird vibe. And I was like 13, and I lived like it was like a 1-story rancher, but it did have like a little attic room, and it was a kind of an unfinished attic. But I lived up there because I was like, I'm 13.
Oh, yeah.
You know. And anyway, but this house was creepy. And like one of the first nights that I lived there, I had this incredibly, incredibly vivid, like just it felt so like real physically and emotionally dream that like everything in the house, like all the like cabinets were opening and closing and the doors were opening and closing, and like my body was vibrating and I was levitating and like I was like moving around. And like anyway, I woke up like off my bed, like at the end of my bed, like I was not in my bed anymore. And then like a few months later, I had this incredibly freaky like ghost encounter like experience in that house. And I mean, I wouldn't categorize that as an out of body experience. That's like the closest I feel like I've ever been, because it felt like something really bizarre happened while I was sleeping.
Yes.
I don't know.
No,
That was bonkers.
I think something that I mean, I believe in ghosts 100%. Like, there's evidence. I don't know what that evidence is, but I'm sure there is. But
You're gonna do more research. Air quotes.
Air quotes, podcast audience. But like, I think for me at least, like, and this is kind of my thoughts about this. I feel like because I am such an anxious person, I feel like I'm just naturally on edge. So I think I'm more inclined to pick up on like vibes, for lack of a better word, vibes of things. Like, and that's something when a few years ago I went on a trip to Salem, Massachusetts, and I feel like everyone hears about the Salem witch trials in school, but what they don't tell you is that no, there were like no witches. This was just a bunch of men in the government trying to take land away from independent women, and did so by calling them witches. So it's like when you really step back and like look at it, it's, in my opinion, it's more sad than, I mean, it is scary, yes, but it's more sad. Like, it's not, I don't know. I was kind of heading into Salem thinking, oh, this is going to be terrifying. And I left just being like, this is devastating.
You were like,
and
men are garbage.
Men are garbage.
We were set up to fail by a patriarchal system that needs to be dismantled.
Exactly.
That's a very different experience to have.
It was. But there was this one night that I went on a ghost tour because I was like, I'm there, might as well just go on this ghost tour.
Yeah, you have to.
And everything in Salem is just less money than I'm used to spending in DC. So I was like, you know what? Take my money. I'm gonna do this.
Take my $4.
Take my $4. I can afford it. Here you go. But there was this. So throughout the ghost tour, one cool thing about the ghost tour was that we saw a lot of sites that were used in Hocus Pocus, one of my favorite movies. But there was this one house one of the houses that they use, Allison's house in Hocus Pocus, there lived this like general who they're like, this house is haunted. He was not a good guy. And I'm going to tell you, I got no vibes from that house. I was like, that's a creepy story. I don't remember exactly what he did, but I remember saying, that's a really creepy story. But I was not reading anything. But we were taken to this one house that used to be used by the Salem Board of Tourism for something. I don't know the exact, acronym that I'm looking for, but they had to move out of this building because there's just so much activity. And I remember, we walked up to the house and I was like, you know what? I'm going to stand right here because there's something wrong with this house. Like, there's just something there's just an overwhelming.
Like, feel it. Yeah.
Do you experience this?
Well, I do. I always go back to my grandparents' house growing up. It was just bad. And I have reoccurring dreams about being in that house.
Oh my gosh.
And like doors slamming and like the ghosts, like in my dream I can like see them, and yeah, they're like, I told you this room isn't for you. And I still to this day, like honestly, like once a month, or like maybe a little less frequently than that, but I mean, a few times a year, I dream about this house. And I always had that feeling. They lived there until I was 9, and I actually like lived there part time growing up, like off and on. I like slept there a lot. Anyway, they had to leave. They like literally, these are very, very like not necessarily into the paranormal. They're not religious. Like they're usually like, like that's bullshit kind of people. And they literally sold the house. They like hired paranormal investigators and everything. And anyway, the house was on an Indian burial ground on the Indian River in Merritt Island, Florida. And it was next to what used to be called Crooked Mile Cemetery, which ended up being like named one of the like top 100 most haunted places in America.
Oh my God.
So it turns out we were right to get such a bad vibe from the house. But like being in it like was always like, it was more than just like, oh, haha, something scary might happen. Like it was very like you could feel it like in your body.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's spooky.
Yeah, I used to hate like going up to go to bed alone. I like shared my aunt's room with her. So I would like go get in her bed, and I just remember like I would just like lay there and feel like a very heavy feeling, and then I would just like try so hard to fall asleep. Like my aunt helped me come up with like a visualization to be able to fall asleep because I would be so scared.
What was the visualization?
She had me like picture myself like at like the beach and like counting like seagulls.
Oh, that's really nice.
And like, yeah, yeah, it was really nice. It didn't really work, but it's a nice thought.
Did you ever, as a child, watch what they used to call Disney Channel original movies?
Oh, maybe occasionally, but like I haven't seen most of them.
There's one that I just love called Don't Look Under the Bed, which is they took out of circulation because it was just deemed too scary.
What? Is it back now? Like, does it exist anywhere?
So you can, some kind soul uploaded like 3-minute segments all on YouTube. So if you want to watch the movie in 3-minute segments, I honestly say you should do this because it's that good. It's that good. It's one of my favorite movies. Even for like a regular movie, it holds up. Like it's better than an original.
Movie.
It's a good movie. And basically the general plot is that this young like 13, 14-year-old is just like super intelligent. She should be in middle school, or like they call it junior high. She's in high school. And she's kind of like very no nonsense. And you find out that she kind of had to be that way because her little brother was like sick. So she kind of had to she's like, I rely on science. Like she's one of those type of people. And
this is a very dark, dramatic film for Disney Channel.
It is
already.
It is. It's like it tackled a
responsibility, sickness.
I know. I was like, what is even going on? But like she, so basically she lives in this town, and one day all this like these weird occurrences start happening in this town. And because she is trying to find a logical explanation for it, because that's the type of person she is, of course, her school administration thinks that she's behind it, because they're like, why are you so interested in this? When it's just like, she's just a bright student that cares. While all this is happening, a mysterious teenager also starts to appear that only this main character, her name is Frances, can see. And she's like, well, obviously it's this guy doing it. His name is Larry. It's Larry. And Larry's like, Frances, no one else can see me, which is true. No one else can see him. And basically he's like, I'm an imaginary friend, but I'm not your imaginary friend. And I'm here because I'm here to fight the boogeyman that's come to your town. So,
okay.
So these things are happening all at one time. And he has this tactic that he does where he's like, this is how you can protect yourself against the boogeyman. If you're in bed, you can put your covers over you so the boogeyman can't see you. And Justine, I'm going to tell you, I slept like that for years. And even now, when I get like really anxious, I'm like, here I go, like into my own little tunnel, because Larry said it. Larry said it.
That Larry gave such good advice, because that is to this day also like I sleep like with like my comforter like all the way up, like I pull it all the way up, and then like make sure it's kind of like tight around my neck, and then like I like the cover. I know I'm like doing like hand motions as if anyone listening could see it, but like anyway, you can't see me, but I kind of cocoon myself just like that, because it's very comforting. It's like very secure. So Larry had the right idea.
Larry had the right idea.
And the boogeyman could be anything. The boogeyman could be, you know, just all kinds of stuff that plagues you in life.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone sleep like that. PSA. But I had a big point that I had that was going to tie all of this together.
Oh, I ruined it. I got so excited about the sleeping position.
I think something about
out of body experiences.
We did talk about out of body experiences.
Yeah.
I think like
getting a clear feeling when a place is like off.
I think because I always was so anxious, I feel like I always just was more in tune to like that type of feeling, maybe more so than like other people. And I remember even in college, I went to this small school that was like founded in the 1800s, and there were quite a few buildings on campus. The campus was very interesting because everything was designed to look the same, but there were some buildings on campus that were literally from like 1857. And then there were other buildings that were from like 2005. And they all looked the same, but they were not. And there was one building on campus that it was our music hall. And that's the oldest building on campus. It originally wasn't affiliated with the college because they always used to tell us it was a bar, but it was not a bar. Justine, it was a brothel.
I was going to say, what is worse than a bar? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, you know what I mean?
No, it was just, and someone, died or was murdered in there. They did not just die, they were murdered. But before it was a brothel, this is kind of how it got really, really haunted. Apparently, it was this huge mansion that was owned by this family. And apparently, and this is like, I don't know how real this is, but this is what everyone said. The patriarch of the family just lost his mind one day, murdered his wife and children, and then hung himself. And then so this building, then it was turned into this bar, according to, my school. No, it was not a bar. And then it was like, it just laid on the edge of campus for a long time until finally my college bought it. Because
where did you go to school?
I went to this small school called Hood College in Frederick, Maryland.
Okay. Cool. That sounds very, very creepy, and I want to go.
Yeah, please go.
So scary.
It's just such a scary building, and the building originally wasn't affiliated with the college, but then the college was expanding towards like the other side of the road, so we had to like buy the building, and then it was used as like teacher lodging, and the professors didn't want to live there. So then it was just turned into our music hall. It had like so many uses like over the years, but like I remember I would always, whenever I was on like the west side of campus, it would always take it would be easier to just walk past the music hall to get back to my dorm, but I would always walk around because it just the building felt like it was looking at me.
You were like, no, thank you.
No, thank you.
I am not what I need, and I can give this to myself. I don't have to go into that building.
But do you want to know something? One day when I was a sophomore at school, I was on the newspaper staff, and for a Halloween weekend, we decided to spend like a night, like 24 hours in the music building, and it was terrifying.
It was anything happen, or was it just like terrifying and an ongoing?
It felt really like oppressive in there. At one point, I thought something had sat on my lap. Like I just felt like pressure on my lap, and like I was chilled to the bone.
Yeah. You definitely had a ghost person.
It was terrible. And then my senior editor was like, "Let's play with this Ouija board," and we were all young, silly people, so we said okay, and we did. And like the little thing, the planchette, I think it's called, moved around a bit. But like nothing, no discernible message came from it. The ghost just like said like some random letters and then stopped communicating with us.
Yeah.
If it really was a good, because it's like, I feel like my senior editor was moving it, but I didn't see anything is at the end of the day. Like I felt something, but I didn't see anything. And then around 2 a.m. I was just like, well, I'm leaving. I can make this. I
love it.
I was like, I'm gonna go. Goodbye. And then I just walked to my dorm and slept with all the lights on.
Oh my God, yeah, sleeping with the lights on when you're scared. I've done that before.
I sleep with the lights on almost every single night. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Do you? Oh my God. Tell me more about that. Sorry, I want to know more.
No, I'm glad we're talking about this. I just like, I get really, really scared at night. Like I always have been like this. I just find it very like intense, and I don't like it being very dark because I don't like not being able to see what's going on when I open my eyes. Like I feel like it's almost more terrifying to wake up and just be like, what is going on? When that's like, I much prefer to just open my eyes and see exactly what's happening. And I've done that for a while now. Like, and even when I was like in high school, I still had like this little night light that I'd like plug in and I'd be like, this is sufficient. And then for about like 10 years, slept with the lights off. And then I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. Like, I'll just trained myself to sleep with the lights off.
Okay, I can relate like to a certain level because I also do not like to sleep in the pitch black at all.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people that is like they have to sleep that way, and like I'll tell you, I can never marry someone like that. Like I'd be like, well, I guess we'll get different houses. Keep up this charade.
Oh my God.
I don't. So I sleep with the TV on for the light and the noise, and I think for a similar reason. It's just that like I am anxious and scared a lot of the time, even when I don't feel explicitly so.
Yes.
I like to have some light and like some distraction. But yeah, I can just relate to I don't sleep in the pitch black. I don't like it. And when I'm in, like, I just was in Tennessee visiting my dad and my grandparents a few weeks ago and had to sleep. It's the same grandparents, different house, obviously. And I had to sleep like up in this huge, like, spooky room upstairs. All the same furniture from that house. It's literally like 200-year-old, like chests and like hutches and like this huge grandfather clock and this weird like cuckoo clock thing.
Oh no.
Yeah, and it's all very dark wood and just like spooky to me. So I literally like all like 3 nights that I slept there, turned the bathroom light on that was like in the room and just like left the door wide open, and I watched TV on my phone because I was like, I'm not sleeping up here in the pitch black without a TV. Yes. I'm not gonna die in my sleep. Are you kidding me?
I feel you.
Yeah. I just am fascinated that you also like to sleep in the light.
Oh, I do. One of my college roommates when I was a freshman, I had 2 of them, and I would occasionally go over to her parents' house to like sleep or just like to spend time off of campus. Like she had this like huge farm and animals and stuff. So I'd always be invited to like stay over at their house, but her parents collected antiques. And they would always put me in this room in the basement that was like, the basement was beautiful. It had like this beautiful like bathroom with this like shower with like multiple shower jets. Like, I don't know. It was great. It was beautiful, except the room that I was sleeping in had all of these antiques. And one of the antiques was this China doll with a like it was like a porcelain doll with a like pale face and like blush. And like it was wearing this like blue plaid dress and it was blonde and it was like a 5-year-old girl. It was supposed to look like a 5-year-old girl. I was so scared of this porcelain doll. Like I truly thought this doll was going to attack me. Like I just hated it so much. And I was like, I always sleep on the right side of my bed facing the right wall because that just makes me feel good. But whenever I would do that in this room, my back would be to the evil doll.
You can't trust her. You don't know her.
I didn't know her. So all throughout like the night, I'd be like peeking over my shoulder, and because I was convinced that at some point her head would turn to look at me. But it never did. But I was scared. I was scared.
Yeah. That's justified. I mean, especially it's like not your house, it's not your family's house. It's creepy. Yeah.
So creepy. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking of when I had to go, whatever. I'm not going to go in the backstory, but I had to go to Indiana at one point a few years ago. And my dad was in the hospital like an hour and a half away from his house. And like I'd slept at the hospital for like several nights. And like finally he was like, you should just like go drive your rental car and go sleep at my house. And so I was like, okay. So I did. And it was in the middle of nowhere. It was just like a small like duplex in this like town that just like had a coal mine and a railroad track. And I like got there like 8:30 at night and it was pitch black. The neighborhood was so quiet, like no one had lights on. I was like, does anyone live here? What's happening? And I turned every single light on in the entire duplex. I turned the big screen TV in the living room on. I turned the TV in like the guest room I was staying in on. And like I literally hid from the windows because he didn't like have curtains. And so I was like, all the lights are on. Then like the murderer outside could see me. And anyway, I couldn't sleep. That's me.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to sleep either.
No, I don't like being in the middle of nowhere sleeping, and I don't like the dark and the quiet. We've established this.
No,
we're two very anxious people.
Yeah, that's just not the ideal situation for either of us.
No.
There was, even when I go sometimes to see my parents in Gaithersburg, it's like Gaithersburg is so much quieter than Silver Spring, even though it's like 20 minutes away. And I remember there was this one day, it was like the eve before, it wasn't Christmas Eve, maybe it was the eve before Thanksgiving, like 3 years ago. I like met up with a bunch of friends, and because I'm me and I'm like used to walking everywhere, after they all left, they were like, hey, do you need a ride? And I was like, I'm good. I'm going to walk. And it was like,
what?
So, I know, I was just dumb. But I was like, in the suburbs, I was like,
no, you never walk home in the suburbs.
And I made a mistake because it was like, it was so dark. It was so quiet. There was just like, I'm used to walking in DC or even in Silver Spring where there's like people, dogs, people walking their dogs, like there's nothing. And
there are dogs alone and there are people alone, and then there are sometimes dogs with people.
Exactly, there's those three categories. It's a Venn diagram of where are you in relation to a dog. But no, there was nothing, and I was so freaked out. But at that point I was like, you just got to keep going. You're not going to call an Uber. I was like 5 blocks away. I was like, just keep going. You've walked this before, Stacey. But it's like, I've walked it in the day.
So brave.
Like, I don't know. It was stupid of me to do. I've learned from
never again. Never again. Ugh. Life is scary.
Life is scary.
Going to sleep is scary.
It's so scary.
Oh, sorry. We probably have to end. Sorry. I don't know how long this is supposed to be. I'm just
it's as long as you want.
You can cut whatever you hate out.
I love it all, so I don't want to cut any. But I'm sorry. What are you saying?
No, this is moving in like a totally different direction. Like around, but super related to being afraid to sleep. So, and I know that you're Jewish, and I don't like practice a religion anymore at all. And even as a kid, I didn't formally, like my parents weren't particularly religious, but I like my grandparents were kind of religious, like on my mom's side, whatever. And like I had a friend who like would take me to like vacation Bible school. Like we would watch VeggieTales. So I learned prayer. Yeah. And my great grandma sometimes would like teach me prayers. But like I was taught the classic one, like, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. And so ever since I learned that at like 5 years old, I thought, okay, well, any night could be the night. Like I literally thought like that was just a thing. Like sometimes you just go in your sleep. So, I mean, I just thought, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, any night I could just go peacefully and never wake to the world again. And so that really set me up for like having a weird relationship with sleep, I think, because I truly believed, like, it didn't cross my mind that like maybe you had to be sick to die in your sleep, or like, I don't know. I mean, also there are other things that could happen, which is like
Right.
my life is so scary. But I really thought like you could just naturally die in your sleep anytime.
Yes.
And that really scarred me for a long time. So then I became obsessive with like not dying in my sleep. And yeah, I think that just all ties in. And so I don't know, have you ever experienced like a similar thing, like, or no? Am I crazy?
No, you definitely are not. I think for me, I was afraid of going to sleep. I hated taking naps too. I think a lot of the fear stemmed from I didn't like being alone, because again, like I was so convinced that I was going to be kidnapped that I was like, well, if I'm alone at any point, then this would be primo time for the home invaders to snatch me away. I also think there was part of me that was like, even when I was like around 6 years old and they'd be like, okay, good night, Stacy. And I'd just be like lying there with my blanket. I'd be like, I wonder what's happening down there. Like, I was just like, so I didn't want to like be missing out on anything.
Yeah, like FOMO combined with an intense fear that strange men would come into your house and take you.
Exactly.
Yeah, same here. What's up with the kidnapping thing? Like, was that a common thing to be scared of when we were kids? I mean, we're only a few years apart, I wonder. I don't know. Or is every kid scared of that?
I think it honestly was for our generation in particular, because I think that's when they started to do all the like stranger danger stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that really kind of freaked me out because, like, I don't know, just from and numbers in my mind don't really mean anything to assuage actual fear and panic. But just from a numbers standpoint, it was like safer for us to grow up when we did than it was for our parents to grow up. But I think because there was just no dialogue about that, which was terrible, like I don't think they were worried about it, which of course led to there being a problem. But I think my big issue with stranger danger was the fact that I think, yes, you should vet strangers, I'm not saying that, but also like there are some horrible people in your life that are not strangers that I think there's like such an outside emphasis of like, oh, the monsters out there are coming in to get you, but it's like, maybe you should just keep your guard up, like
all the time. Maybe you should just be an anxiety-ridden person.
And here I am.
Yeah, same.
But I remember like there was just such like this huge emphasis of like, if someone is driving a big van, they could be coming to kidnap you. And it's like, not everyone driving a van is the problem.
Oh my God, I was so scared. I'm still scared of everyone driving a van, and I'm 32 years old. I and I understand that people drive vans. I understand that. My mom had a really good friend named Doug who passed away a few years ago, and we ultimately became like very like close. He was like a very close family friend. They were like good friends and kind of dated on and off from when I was like 11 to, until he passed when I was like 22 or something. Like anyway, so we were very close, spent a lot of time together. But the very, very first time I ever saw this person was out my apartment window at like 1 a.m. I was like 11. I was like in the 6th grade. This is a little like tattling on my mom's parenting, but she had like been out. I was home alone, but I had like a friend over who'd stayed with me. It was like a weekend night.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we were like up still, but we were like in this apartment, in an apartment complex alone. And like my mom like had been out. Well, we were like hanging out like in the room, like in my bedroom that was in the second story. Anyway, we, for some reason, I think we just heard a noise, and so we looked out the window and we saw like this like white like work van with like ladders on top. And then we saw like a middle-aged man with a long beard and long hair get out of the van and close the door and then walk behind the shed, and like the like maintenance shed on the apartment grounds. And we were like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Oh, you can't see the dramatic reenactment I'm doing right now.
Yeah, but this is a good dramatic reenactment.
And so we went to the kitchen and got knives, thinking like he was definitely there to come and kill us. Anyway, this went on. We thought he kind of looked like a rabbit, so we called him Killer Rabbit Man. like dead serious. We like named him, like gave him a serial killer name and everything, but we were like actually very, very, like veritably afraid. Anyway, like an hour of this passes. We're exhausted from our like extreme fear. And then my mom finally gets out of the passenger side of the van. She'd been in the van with him the whole time. They were like getting high. But we realized, and anyway, that I had like a, a decade long, like, family friendship with him. And he's a very, very kind, generous, wonderful, harmless soul who did not kill us and didn't look like a rabbit after that much time either. But because he drove a white van, I thought he was creepy for a long time.
Yes. Yeah.
I really was like, and I told my mom everything. So he knew the whole story after a certain point.
Oh my gosh.
We thought he was going to murder us. But yeah, there was just so much stranger danger. Like, yes. I was so scared of everyone. If someone even looked at me in public, I was like, oh my God, they're memorizing what I'm wearing and they're going to find me later.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. I mean, oh my gosh. I agree.
Oh my God. No wonder we're just lovely, beautiful, anxious messes.
Yeah.
Growing up in the 90s, I guess.
Here we are. Oh my God. Justine, do you have final thoughts you would like to share?
Oh my gosh. I will just say, I mean, I know we covered a lot of ground. I still want to hear more about your sleepwalking. We'll save that if that feels more appropriate, but unless you want to share.
I will share a little bit.
I am genuinely curious because I'm a wild sleeper. Like I thrash, you already know about my nightmares, but I've never slept walked and I'm fascinated. So I would love to hear a little bit.
Yeah, so I used to sleepwalk when I was a toddler. And then for about 10 years, I did not sleepwalk. And then when I was 14, I was entering into high school, the summer before high school, I started sleepwalking. But I still to this day don't remember sleepwalking as a toddler. That was something that was told to me later in life, like, oh, you've always done this. You used to do this as a toddler, but I don't remember. All I remember was that very first time as a teenager sleepwalking. I went to sleep as normal, and then I came to, and like my dad was helping me get back into my room because I was just like so out of it. I was just so out of it. So that's like the very first thing I remember, but I sleepwalk pretty regularly. Like when I was a teenager, I used to sleep.
And there you have it. That was the latest episode within Now Entering Dreamland, featuring an interview with Justine Hipsky. Thanks, Justine. If you like this podcast, if you are enjoying what you're listening to, I can only tell you that you should subscribe to this podcast. We have a handy subscribe button linked right at the bottom of this episode, and that will allow you to get Now Entering Dreamland podcast episodes right to your email every week. Now Entering Dreamland is available at nowenteringdreamland.com. We have new episodes coming out every Sunday of this podcast, and we also have additional content on our website that you might find interesting. So check it out, nowenteringdreamland.com. You're now leaving Dreamland, but we'll see you next time.